Just like that, we are back. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Night Live show. I just love when the screen slides over. It gets me ready to go, man. Yes, yeah. John has drank 3 Mountain Dews already, so he's good to go. Got good sleep last night, so the show will begin today. Sorry about last week. I slept right through four alarms, people. 4 alarms. My Amazon Dot, the two that come on my phone, and then my Amazon it's a little I forget what they call it, the Facebook portal. All those alarms were going off and I did not hear a single one of them. Yeah, that's pretty bad. The house could have been on fire.
Maybe you need to turn them up.
They're full blast, man. They're in full blast, dude. The Amazon the Amazon Dot wakes me up to music. So, and it's on 80s classic rock. So I don't know what's going to come on there. So that one's playing music and it keeps playing music until I hit it to stop. So I slept through all those songs that were on there. And it was pretty bad because my alarm was set actually to 2:30 and I didn't wake up till 4:45. So I slept two hours past my alarm. So, but we are back and we got Timmy here. Yeah. The wonderful and lovely Michelle is with us. And we got not a lot to talk about. I mean, I shouldn't say we don't have a lot to talk about, but there's a few things that are out there. I think everyone has kind of noticed that things have kind of slowed down a little bit as far as the vaping community and the world as far as vaping. We got a few things that are out there. Jim McDonald's got a new article from last week, and I can't remember the name of it actually now. It's on the top of my head.
We'll probably find it.
Yeah, it's on Vaping 360, Timmy. Okay. Did you find it? Did you find it, Timmy?
I'll find it.
You find it? Latest news, press release, Vupu. It's even Vape 360 for some reason has just got articles about reviews on juice, and it's just the news has just come to an end. Michelle, what is going on? What do you think is going on? Fear?
I think people are just kind of waiting to see what's happening. I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of science that I'm aware of that's come out either. There's been a few good reports, but
Yeah, I mean, do you think it seems like it's both sides, though? It seems like the industry itself is just like, let's just be quiet and shut up and not say nothing right now. And then it seems like the federal government and the government in general is kind of like, hey, let's not say anything because we already look stupid enough. And they're just kind of staying out. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I think you got to assume that they're looking at what's coming up as a slap in the face to them. And everything's going to come out in the open, and everyone's going to get the truth for once, depending on whether the media actually shares this stuff. But I think being involved with other industries with the Supreme Court dealings, I think they're going to have no choice but to bring up vaping as well as a whole as part of this whole Triton thing. So I hope so. I got high hopes. Mr. Timmy.
Yeah. Well, you want to know what my week was like?
I want to know what you've been up to, man. Because I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks, so like I know that you have this amazing life. You're a rock. You live like a rock star. You're the HOA presidente. You're at all these concerts. I sometimes wonder if you're not the manager of some of these bands.
No. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'd ever want that job. I don't know if I'd want to have to be a babysitter. Well, I did that with Departure for several months when I was kind of going through my that period where I'm like, oh, it's no problem. I'll just take the summer off. Live life. I'll get a job as soon as the summer's over, and then COVID hit. And so anyway, I realized that going out on the road with the band, at least at this stage in the game and with those guys, while they were paying me a little bit just to be a driver more or less and a gopher, I was having to pay money to go away because of the 2 knuckleheads here. So I would have to find a dog sitter or somebody to tend to them while I was gone. So by the time I made the little bit of money that I made running around being a freewheeling don't give a shit kid at 50 something years old. I was coming home with half the money that I was making on the road. But to be honest, I'm like, I love being around the scene. I love being around the bands. I love the whole thing, but I just don't think I have the fortitude to have to want to be responsible for 4 to 5 other people's daily lives and stuff like that. So I'll take a hard pass and just stick to websites and social media. That still nets me a little bit of cash, so I mean,
Taco Bell money.
Yeah, and then I still get periodically I'll get someone to reach out and ask me to do flyers for shows and stuff like that. So
I remember those days.
Yeah, so I still get to do those kinds of fun things. But on the outside of that, I did go to another concert, John, since we last talked. We headed off to Peachtree City, down in the southwestern portion of the Atlanta, belt line, the 285, to go see LA Guns and Tom Kiefer of Cinderella. So we
Cinderella.
Yeah. So we went to see him. He didn't have. I mean, he sounded okay. He still sounded good. He was, I think he was having a little bit of an off night. He sounded a little vocally tired, but who am I to criticize? He's probably the same age as me. So at least we're lucky enough to still go see bands like that. So he didn't sound horrible. Like, he was holding it down, but I guess I'm a little bit more critical just because I listen more, and so you could hear some
well, you're listening with your 80s ears.
Yeah. Well, I understand too that not many of these guys are going to be able to pull off what they sounded like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And that happens to all people who age and are singing, like even some of the greats, like
not us.
Well, I mean, throw Bon Jovi and his issues out, but I mean, there's still a lot of bands, when the guys get into that age range, they tend to, they change the key of the song. They drop it down a half step or a full step so that they can still sing the lines. But I like, for example, when went to go see Journey and Def Leppard at Truist Park, Steve Miller opened. Now, I'm not the biggest Steve Miller fan. I mean, granted, I know a lot of his songs, but he sounded good, and he's got to be in his
70s.
Yeah, and Phil Lewis, the singer of LA Guns, just this past weekend, 67 years old.
Yeah.
So I mean, and he's still really singing very well at 67. So and then there's some that just sound like total dog shit, and I wish they would just retire.
Axl Rose.
Yeah, Axl's falling off the horse. Don Dokken is certainly, he's certainly taking a turn for the worse. Well, John Bon Jovi, not his fault. He had the vocal issue, so I can't really blame him. It wasn't like he did something wrong and killed his voice.
The boss still sounds the same.
Yeah, that a lot of them, a lot of them still sound the same. So did that, and then other than that, it's been pretty average, pretty normal. We did go bowling last night.
Ooh,
we went bowling last night.
All right, what was your scores?
Well, we're both. Well, she's just still kind of like learning and beginning. So I mean, for what she did yesterday, amazing. I applaud her tremendously. She actually logged an over 100.
Nice.
Yes, I mean, she got 2 strikes in a row. Sorry, no,
almost got the turkey.
Turkey. I got 2 strikes for her. She got 3 spares in a row. So
3 spare. That's impressive.
When it was all said and done, we couldn't turn down the deal because Tuesday nights here in Buford at Stars and Strikes, they have a deal where you pay one low price and you get to play unlimited. So for $13 a person,
we have that here.
You play unlimited games. We played 7 games. And
damn, your arm had to have been killing you.
Well, I did go a little bit lighter on. I didn't do like 12 or 13 or even 14. I did an 11-pound ball and a 12-pound ball, so I could kind of go the distance. But in the end, and I'm not a great bowler at all. At all. I'll admit, like the 5th game, the first 2 frames, I got 1 pin each. So after 2 frames, I had 2 points. So when it was all said and done, the final, we played 7 games. I won 4, she won 3, and that was legit competitive games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we had a good time.
We have that here. I wish they bring it back. After COVID, they took it away, but it used to be $7. You pay the 50 cents for shoes, and then a quarter a game. So you come in there, and then the best part, PBR for 25 cents. So you can't beat PBR for 20, even though it's one of the worst beers, but it's beer at 25 cents a cup. So
because it didn't cost them anything to buy it.
No, it didn't. Yeah. But yeah, I wish they bring that back. Michelle, how has your last 2 weeks been?
It's slow,
Yeah.
I don't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's so hot right now, So
hot,
I love
humid.
the bowl, though.
Yeah. Flooding. You guys had everything going on over there in Florida the last couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah. It really wasn't bad where I'm at, but all around me, it was kind of like a bubble. It was everywhere I'm at.
Yeah, Phil posted some scary photos. I was like, damn, that's a lot of water, boy.
Yeah. It's been interesting, but hey, at least it wasn't as bad as it could be. So we were all thankful for that. And I never lost power or any of that, which, I mean, like right now it's been in the sun. It's been about 110 to 114. And, that's hot.
That's hot.
Woo, 114.
I know those numbers. All too well.
I know.
Staying up in the house at 114, I'm not going anywhere.
But see, we have the humidity still, and that just makes it worse, So
Well, you guys know I don't even get my mail this time of the year. I let someone else bring the mail in. So I don't even want to walk to the box. So
I go once a week.
Once a week, just fill it up. All I get is the magazines and advertisement and newspapers. So it's just like, I know when my bills are coming, and it really doesn't matter because it's just a receipt, because it's all auto paid. So it's just like, I have no reason. Perfect example, because we're a generation that looked forward to letters. Remember, like somebody said they were going to write you a letter. You looked forward to, you had a reason to go out to the mailbox and grab that letter. Are you getting no letters? No one's sending me a letter. Timmy, send me a letter, Tim.
Christmas cards anymore.
Yeah. Well, I want a handwritten letter from you, Timmy.
Okay. Shall we be pen pals? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Let's do that.
Like back in the day, we used to remember you could go like in the back of like, what was it, like, was it Mad Magazine or one of those magazines, and you could sign up and be pen pals with people. I forget.
Cool.
Yeah, it was. I remember that back in the day. It was like always like a little ad or something in the like, like become pen pals. And I don't remember how you got who you got or whatever. But I just remember we used to do that. Go ahead.
For me, I've always kind of liked to write things, but and living here in Florida, they have all kinds of postcards. So occasionally I'll pick up some postcards and just drop a note to all the people that are older.
That's nice.
Well, I know you guys wouldn't do that probably, but it's one of those Southern things, I think, and it's kind of nice as an older person who lives alone and doesn't get to see people, to just get a little note, and it doesn't have to be long. But just a postcard with, "Hi, I'm thinking of you," and
those days are gone.
So
my mom used to do that. My mom, my mom always did that. No matter where she went, gotta stop and get postcards. And she already had how many she needed. Those are the people that were going to get postcards. So every time we went somewhere, it's like Atlantic City, get the postcards. So I was like, all right. But it makes me wonder though, if my mom would have had Facebook back then, would she have still have bought a postcard, because she just could have, hey, Atlantic City, like we do now. Hey, Atlantic on the boardwalk. Hey. Holding the camera up here. Just picture my mom.
Postcards.
I'm picturing my mom holding a selfie stick and trying to take a picture on the boardwalk. Oh, man. I've had a very busy last 2 weeks. Everyone knows that I slept through the show last week. Rock on. That's about it. My car broke down, still trying to get that fixed. So yeah, it's been a busy week, and hopefully I get my car back, because today's my Friday. And what I had planned on doing this was just getting off. I get off of work at 5 a.m, and I was just going to take off to Santa Cruz or Monterey and spend the day at the beach, and just because I haven't done that all summer, and it's almost over. It's August 14th, and I'm like, so, but I got to get my car back. So as soon as I get my car back, maybe next week, I just want to take off. Just take off, grab all my camera gear, put it in the car, go to work, leave work at 5, and just drive to the coast and spend the day up there, get a room, get a hotel, and get up in the morning, have some breakfast, wait for the rush hour traffic to leave, and then head back home. I just need to get away.
Yep.
Timmy.
Yes, sir.
You know what time it is, and I got your music right somewhere over here. Where is that? And you know what the name of your music is, right? Feeding the Ducks? Feeding the Ducks.
Feeding the Ducks is the name of the Shaft music?
Yeah. Feeding the Ducks.
Well, then next time I go over to Bogan Park and the ducks are in the water, I'll have to play this music as I'm feeding the ducks. I don't know. I have to have theme music, but as far as I'm concerned, it's hey everybody. Shaft.
Oh yeah, let's do it, Jeff.
Shaft. Yes. We're gonna have to have some timing lessons. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Live Show. Yes, we're back after a 2-week sleeping hiatus where John slept through not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 alarms, everyone.
4
alarms. So I guess there's that old adage, it was a 4-alarm fire. So John, if your house catches on fire, you're cooked, buddy. You're cooked. You're not gonna get out. The 4-alarm fire. John's gonna be
what? Hey Timmy, I might need to start sleeping with my hearing aid in, right?
I don't know. Look, dude, I even called your phone, and your phone didn't wake you up. So that was your 5th alarm. But anyway, let's see who's on the roster.
That's true.
Yes, I even left you a long voicemail. Let's see who's on the roster for the evening. I apologize, everybody, for not hanging with you last week, but you'll understand. So we had first gent out of the gate, the wonderful and always gracious Rifleman, who's in the house, and everyone just be aware that he is overtaxed on his vaping, and we feel your pain. Child delivery fees and everything else that comes with it, bro. We're right there with you. Who else we got in here? We got Peggy at E6 Source in the house. What's up, Peggy? Great to see you. How are you, dear? Wonderful. Thank you for being here. We got the excellent Mr. Michael Redfern in the house. Good to see Mr. Michael Redfern, and holding up the proper icon. If you ever see anybody doing this, like when they go, rock and roll, and they do that, no, it's not that. No. It's not that. You got it's the devil horns. I forget what Dio called it. It's
Italian, baby.
It is Italian. I'll have to look it up. I will get the information for you later. I'm sure somebody in the chat knows what it's called. I think I've even talked about it before. But there's been this long-standing debate about who actually created it. Was Gene Simmons, who does this?
Yeah,
and then Ronnie James Dio, who did this, and it was a symbol from his grandmother to ward off the bad spirits and stuff. So don't get it twisted. When people do that, we're not all a bunch of devil worshipers anyway. But Michael Redfern with the proper icon. We got those straight from Berlin in the 91.4 Fahrenheit heat. You're hanging there with us, brother. We're all one family. We're all melting. I feel like there's an INXS song coming here. No, that wasn't INXS. Who did that song? I'll stop the world and melt with you. Everybody knows.
You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. My favorite song.
I forget who did that. Somebody will even know that one. God, at least I know the words to the damn song. Good to see it though.
Bad English.
It was a bad English.
Bad English.
Bad English was Neil Sean and John Waite, dude. That's a totally different band. Modern English.
I'm sorry, I said bad English. Yeah, modern English. I'm sorry, modern English.
And then let's see who else we got in here. We got my favorite screen name of all time, Microwave Oven in the house. Boop, 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 boop. Microwave oven is in the house. Good to see microwave oven, 110 degree Fahrenheit. It gets hot in the microwaves too. Kind of hot in this microwave.
It is hot.
Yeah. Who else we got in here? I'm waiting for Mallory Gates to show up. She's not here, but that's okay. Mallory gets a pass. We got the wonderful Steve Todnam with the clock icon. That's his. Steve brought in the Flava Flav icon for the night. Flava Flav. He's got his clock on. So yeah, that must be indicative of the alarm. Is that what's it called though?
I can't say it, man. My Italian is sucking since my mom's not around and I don't speak it anymore.
Wait.
It's right here. MALOC. I can't say it.
Malacchio.
The horns.
Great to see you.
See, okay, the horns are right here. There's the name of the horns. Can you see that?
No, I'm 56. My readers aren't.
Oh, hold on. I'll do this. Here we go.
We're an educational show, everybody. Many Italians wear a horn, the cornuto, cornulio, or or the cornicello. Yeah, but I remember he called it what you showed before, the Malacchio. Yeah, and she used to do that. So Ronnie James Dio, it's his, everybody. And that's it for now. We got a wonderful group of 9 in here, so we got a few things to talk about. We could chit chat about. I got some articles, so we're good.
You got some stuff to talk about. I mean, we got a lot. Let me get rid of that Facebook thingy. Right there. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I mean, like we said in the beginning of the show, I almost sensed that it's like both parties are afraid to say anything right now. It just seems like our industry is they were doing it in the first place. Everyone was kind of I remember trying to get people for the show from the industry, and everyone's like, hey, we don't want to be on their radar. And I get that. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're still having with the industry. I think a lot of people are saying, hey, I don't want to get in their radar. I don't want to get them looking at us. I'm just going to stay quiet and wait and see what happens here. But you got a couple of companies that are battling it out right now in some Fifth Circuit courts. And I think that the federal government, the government in general, I think has realized that the FDA may have done a few shady things here in the last 5-6 years. You think you see Michelle looked up like, yeah.
Right. Well, but
just a few shady
things. Well, then we had the recent ruling though. We had the FDA versus or SWT Global versus Food and Drug Administration. There was a ruling on that one too.
Yeah. So, I think they're trying to save some face and not trying to put anything out there. And I also think that Twitter's community notes, I think, have also led them to try to be a little bit more smarter about their post. And because now it's getting not just seen by the followers, us, but it's getting seen worldwide by other people now because of the community notes. So it's just a weird time. It's like I get up and back in, maybe 2 years ago, I was like, oh shit, here we go. I turn on the computer, I go to paper, and it was just article after article after article. And it's all just constant for us, bad news all the time. But it's just like I get up every now and then now the last couple months, and I go to Vaping 360, I go to a couple other places, and it's all reviews. It's like, we're reviewing this product, e-liquid, or new hardware coming from Vapu, it just seems like everybody right now is like, shh, just be quiet.
And you don't hear from PAVE or Truth Initiative like we used to, or any of those. You do hear from them, but not very often. Know. So
I think they're realizing that maybe their funding is about. You can't have those big lavishing lunches, with champagne and caviar anymore.
Y'all heard who is going to be hosted by themselves now, right? They're not going anywhere.
Nope.
So.
Timmy, you want to touch on that Fifth Court cites Triton as the Jim McDonald? Where is it? The Jim McDonald the argument. The Jim McDonald.
Did he actually kind of put it in a nicer little story? Because it's kind of hard to read the actual ruling here.
I got a copy, and I'm going to put it in Mr. Private Chat. There, I got to get a new mouse. It doesn't coast and smoothly across the screen like it used to.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the actual ruling here, but I mean that's just a little cumbersome to read through. So let's just bring it up here. Hold on one second. Let me drag that sucker over here, and then we'll do one of these jobbers, and then we'll do one of these jobbers.
And you will present.
Yes, I shall. And then we'll do one of them numbers, and then we'll go like that. Right. So this is basically hopefully a nicer little encapsulation of all the information that was in there. And plus that ruling was loaded with a bunch of legal terminology, which basically I would be sounding like Shakespeare if I read it. Yeah. And Turk, well, Turk's still in his same,
in his fantasy world.
Yeah, that nonsense that he spouts, and he's I feel like, he's like that, that kid in the playground that just can't win a fight, but he still wants to fight. Yeah. And so people are just like, how people have their palm out, and you got your palm on the forehead, and the kid's just too little, so he's just swinging and he can't quite hit you. That's just what it feels like. I feel like he's so desperate to be right. Yeah. You know what I mean? That everybody is a vape industry shill as far as he's concerned. We're all getting paid by big tobacco to push their propaganda. I'm like, bro, you can't be that fucking dumb.
You remember that one kid? You remember that one kid that used to argue with you, and then he'd run a block away and then yell, "Motherfucker!" Yeah, remember that kid? That's him.
Yeah, exactly. You just get so tired of just reading what he has to write anymore. It's like, I mean, let's be honest. I think for most of us, Turk has just sort of become kind of a plaything. Do you know what I mean? It's like everybody just would much rather prove him wrong. Well, we are proving him wrong.
Yeah,
but most but. For me, it's just like, dude, if we just stop talking to him, then he'd be almost 99.99% irrelevant. Like he barely gets any traction on anything he talks about anyway. Yeah. But I do like that people are persistent with him. I think Mallory's probably one that gives him. Yeah. I mean, he retweets her all the time, battling her commentary. But he just drives me nuts, and I'm like, but I'm glad to see that people still get in his face and in his commentary, just so he doesn't get the gratification of being able to feel like he's posting something meaningful and educational. He's just an ignorant guy, and I don't like that.
He's bored. I think he just does it for the attention.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah. I mean, he just he throws in the whole thing about he's a social justice warrior and all this other stuff, and it's like. It's like, you're spending all this time fighting everybody, and and to be honest, I don't think any one of us here wants to have to fight back. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have the moxie to fight back, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, we don't, why don't you just? I'm not saying come to the dark side, Turk, but what I am saying is that maybe you can kind of stop being sort of hypocritical about that and calling everybody a paid show when in fact you're the one who's paid. But then in the same turn, it's like, I'm sure there's some middle ground that everybody could meet on that's satisfactory. Anyway, but I digress with that knucklehead. I digress with that knucklehead. So so the case destined to test the FDA's vaping regulation next year in the Supreme Court continues to vex the agency in the meantime. On July 31st, a 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals cited its Triton distribution decision as precedent when granting petitions for review to 5 independent vaping manufacturers vacating the FDA's marketing denials. The court remanded the cases to the FDA for further review. The 5 manufacturers may now continue to sell their products until the agency conducts new scientific reviews of their pre-market tobacco applications, or possibly until the Supreme Court acts. The 5 companies are Cloud House LLC, Paradigm Distribution, SWT Global Supply Incorporated, Vaporized Incorporated, and SV Packaging LLC. In January, the Fifth Circuit Court found 10-6 in favor of Triton Distribution, known in court documents by its legal name Wages and White Lion Investments, and the e-liquid manufacturer's appeal of FDA marketing denial order. 2 months later, the FDA petitioned the Supreme Court to review the Fifth Circuit ruling, and last month the High Court agreed to hear the FDA's appeal. The case is likely to be decided next spring and could reshape the FDA's vaping product regulatory practices. Well, I'm still, you'd be hard pressed to find me believing that so I think who was the microwave said an FDA, where I lost the comment. He said something about 3-letter agencies expected to be honest or something like that.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
3-letter. It's right here at the bottom. 3-letter agencies being shady. No, it can't be. I just sort of feel like people have gone to the locker room and they're going to restructure and they're going to rethink their game. I hope that that something positive becomes of this, in the sense that they rethink the process and at least make it reasonable and fair for everybody. I'm not sold on the fact that any of their science and testing methodology could prove that there isn't some net benefit to adult health or to people's health in general with vaping. So we'll see what happens. The Fifth Circuit found that petitions decided this week pose the same issues as Triton's. Petitioners in the case manufacturer flavored nicotine containing e-liquids wrote the court petitioners spent substantial time and resources preparing their PMTAs based on FDA guidance, and they would not need to submit long-term clinical studies. Nevertheless, FDA rejected their PMTAs using the same boilerplate language it used for the wages petitioners' denials, as well as those of thousands of other e-cigarette manufacturers. Accordingly, for the reasons amply explained by the en-banc court in wages, we hold that FDA acted unlawfully here as well by denying petitioners PMTAs based on the absence of long-term clinical studies. All 5 companies filed petitions with the court in October of 2021, challenging MDOs received in August and September of that year, part of the early wave of denial orders issued a year after the September 2020 PMTA submission deadline. The 5 cases were consolidated by the court, and all 5 petitioners were granted unopposed stays pending review in November 2021. In a recent progress report on its PMTA reviews, the FDA said it has issued MDOs for 46,000 vaping products. Dozens of vaping manufacturers have challenged denial orders in federal court. So we'll have to see how that materializes come the spring of 2025. But this is good news. At least some companies are getting some justice, allowing their products to stay out on the market, therefore allowing people, hey, just Rhonda, how are you? Allowing people to sell their products and helping adults to quit smoking. I think it's going to be a long and winding, trotting road back to some sense of normalcy. I don't know. Maybe Michelle, maybe you can comment on what you think. I mean, obviously, a lot of things have changed. The landscape has changed. The way we order has changed. Where we can go and what we have access to has changed. But I still feel like we're still in the game, right? I mean, outside of the states that have bans and things of that nature.
California.
Yeah. But I still feel like, we didn't get decimated completely. There's remnants right now, outside of the disposable market, but,
Tim, have you said hello to our new viewer? First time
I did. I said hello, just Rhonda. Sorry. How are you? Welcome to the show. Don't worry. John overslept an entire show last week. So the fact that you're a little late on this one, it's quite all right. You got another 1.5 hours of hearing us run our mouth. So you're still here. So what did Rhonda miss? Let's recap. Rhonda missed Disco check. What up? What up, Disco check? Yeah, I like it when the checks come in the mail. Not the ones going out, but the ones coming in. So Rhonda, what did Rhonda missed the round table? How was your week? Just kind of checking in, just backfilling everybody on what we've done over the last week or two.
Our
And then
lives.
We did the introductions to everybody in the chat. So now you're in. So we said so recognized. And then we were going over this latest story about the MDOs, which were put on a stay. So basically, you've got 5 vape manufacturers, e-liquid manufacturers that were issued MDOs very early in the process when FDA started rubber stamping PMTA applications and kind of shifted the goalpost, let's say. And so now they're back in the game. So we'll see what happens to these companies come the spring, or we'll see if that doesn't get pushed off and see what happens with the Supreme Court. So there's a lot of cases going on there. So
yeah, remember when the Supreme Court's supposed to look at us?
It's probably going to be after the election sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
it didn't really
spring or summer.
Well, they said that let's see.
It was supposed to be spring, right?
Yes, in spring of 2025.
That's what I thought. I think that's what everything's being held up by. I really do. I mean, and in the meantime, FDA is sitting around and they decided, hey, we can have 2 whole flavors of mint. Like that's a big deal. But it is a big deal because it's something.
Yeah. I think it's just them trying to save some fate.
It is.
And let's be honest, them doing that is not just benefiting the vape industry, but they're helping big tobacco out by doing that as well, because big tobacco is like, oh, okay. So we can kind of somewhat have menthol back. Is that what you're kind of saying? And that's how I look at it.
I look at it as, you know what? There's a lot of people who just will not ever, like the tobacco. So at least maybe they will try the mint. So, hey, if it's helping some people, that's better.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the meantime, they've got a black market that hasn't quit, so.
Well, that will always exist. But I am thankful that they did allow some of the mint stuff through. I think that just by relegating it to only tobacco flavors was a little unjust in the sense that especially for this particular group. I mean, that's not to say that some of us, not me personally, but some will fall back into a tobacco flavor every once in a while.
Right.
Just because they found one that they like, but more predominantly, we exist for the flavors because we wanted to kind of disassociate from the cigarette relationship of the menthol and the tobacco flavors. So
gotta have my mango, Tim. Gotta have my mango.
But for those accidental quitters and those people that are still kind of inquisitive and want to see what the whole thing's about, it's at least they have an either or. They have something that they can go with. If they were a menthol smoker, I highly doubt you're going to find too many menthol smokers who are going to be like, "What do you got? Tobacco. No, I'll just continue to smoke. I'd rather get my that menthol bite." So
or they'll become a one-time buyer and they'll give it a go for maybe a week and then they put it away. It just and then that person unfortunately makes it more difficult to bring them back because they had such a negative effect to trying it for the first time because they couldn't get the flavors they wanted.
I was speaking with I believe she said she was 72 years old and she was trying a vape and she's tried it now for about 4 months and she really could only decide that all she really wanted was the tobacco flavor. And she was having a hard time finding any of those. And I get that because, they're hard to find.
Yeah.
And she went down to the Dollar Tree and bought some, whatever it was, kind of a candy and stuck it in her mouth. And she said, that stuff's good. And she said, I can hang with it now, so she's
That's
all
not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, she's all excited now because she says, well, I'll just have to be careful of my rest of my, calories, but she's all excited about it now because all she needs is a candy.
A jolly.
And she's not smoking. So, that's something that she never thought she would ever be able to say in her life at 72 years old, but she's doing it. And,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the revelation for a lot of people. I mean,
it is.
ultimately
It
for,
is.
people climbing up into that age bracket, I mean, those are the greatest success stories of all of them, just
Right.
simply because, those are the people that have battled with smoking for, multiple decades, 30, 40, 50 years of smoking. And then they
Right.
finally find something that they are successful with. I mean, it's just, there's a reality here that not everybody will be able to break away with cold turkey or medications or NRTs or gums, pad, like all that shit that's out there. The
That's right.
reality is that, yeah, vaping just works. It
Yep.
just works. And so now that person, that 72-year-old lady, she's going to get more time with her family, more time with her grandkids.
Right.
So good on her. Good on her.
Even the kids are all for it. I mean, it's like, Granny, go ahead, go ahead and try it.
Yeah.
Apparently, and
Yeah.
she says that I get more compliments from my kids and my grandkids from
Yeah.
my little vapes, and saying how cool they are, and then I ask them, are they vaping? And it's like, no, that's for you guys, So
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that are now getting the point,
Yeah. Well, I
So
think too, when they see that you've made that initial decision to quit smoking and they see that it's working,
right.
that sends a signal to them that, like, hey, grandma's trying, and this is working. She hasn't bought any cigarettes, and that to me is when I think a lot of people in my family noticed right away, because yeah, I was the guy that was like, if we had a family function, I was the guy that was outside smoking a cigarette, not
Mhm.
being inside or, being with the family. I was always outside. But they picked on the fact that I had started vaping. I wasn't vaping in the house, but I was spending less time outside because I didn't need to sit there and smoke a cigarette for 8-10 minutes. I could
Right.
take my 2 hits, come back inside and be with the family. And then when they picked up on it, I feel that they started doing their research, and with a little help from me as well. It's like, well, no, here, go look up this article, go look at, but yeah, I wanted to talk about, Tim saw that video that I posted a couple days ago, about the kid in the Mercedes and blowing his vape. And that made me laugh, because you never see him blow the vape into the filter thing. And Mercedes has the air purifier. I couldn't remember the article, Tim, where California did that test. I wanted to find it and link that to that TikTok video, because it pissed me off. And I was just like, to me, I was like, well, how's that sensor work inside that man? Is that an invasive mist that's going into it? It's going to, no matter what you blow into it, it's always going to be something not good, better than air, right?
Well, all right. So, let's look at real world cases. Okay. Well, first of all, that the whole thing with that dude and the vaping thing and and bad for you, that was all bunk anyway. I mean, he didn't know any better. He just somebody. He probably didn't even understand half of the technology that was in his car in the first place.
Yeah.
But I can tell you beyond a reasonable doubt that those, I have air purifiers in the house, and those things measure basically just air quality in general. And anything can get blown into the air, and those things will crank themselves up to like the red mark. I can have a diffuser running, 20 feet away, and a lot of us use essential oils and things like that. Those are touted. And now, granted, you're not drinking those, you know what I mean? You're not actually, some people put it on their skin and stuff like that. It's not harmful in that regard, but like even the diffusers will make that thing go crazy.
Yeah.
Anything that starts to disturb what it's programmed to think is pure
It's
clean
quality.
air
Yeah.
is gonna be read as a potential pollutant in the air. So I'm not shocked that that thing went ballistic, when you blew a vape cloud in the car.
Right. It's,
Son of a
filters
bitch.
are porous, and you block the holes and with anything, and it's gonna, say that it's bad. It's like, whoa, what are you doing to me? It's gonna give you bad numbers.
Well,
And
right.
then
Yeah.
Well,
if
that's
you
just like
notice it, it went right down back to zero, or right back down again.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I could sit here and turn around and blow a cloud right at that thing, and it'll go ape shit for the next 5 minutes until it filters it out. But like Michael's pointing out, it's just measuring particles in the air. It's not measuring chemicals. It's not measuring pollutants, you know, in that regard. It's just measuring particles in the air. So I mean, but that's the kind of stuff, you know, when these things,
just sending out more and more misinformation and making people change their mind about switching to this alternative and a safer alternative.
Well, it just becomes a scare tactic too, because you know what happens is the wrong well, I wouldn't say the wrong people, but I would say the easily misinformed people will see that video, and then what do? They start forwarding it to their kids and to their friends and the people that they know are vapors.
Repost.
Like you got to see this. You got to look at this. This is insane. That you need to get rid of that vape and all this other stuff. And I'm like,
and that's why he did it. You know, that's exactly why he did it. Just to
get $10 he didn't stop vaping. I'm willing to bet $10 he didn't stop vaping.
Right.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was the vapor. I think it was his buddy in the car, or his boyfriend or whatever in the car. I think that's who was sitting there, and he was like, he took a little hit on the vapey vape. Yeah. And then look at this. And then they did their they did their clinical trial right there in front of all the camera eyes to see. I'm like, okay, well, I tell you what, go ahead and pull out that THC disposable that you have in your pocket too. Blow that in there. Yeah. See what the car does at that point in time. You know? You're busted. Yeah.
It informs the German council in Germany, and they come fly over and arrest you.
Exactly. That you get the ruling right there. You're driving through a state that doesn't have any legal marijuana laws. Yeah. You just got sentenced to 3 months in county jail. Turn yourself in now.
Or it'll say you are fined, and it'll be German money. I don't know what is German money? I forget their name. Deutsch, it'll be 30,000 Deutschmarks.
Yeah, well, at any rate, so yeah, it's just sad that we have to kind of contend with all that stuff, and I hope that, and if anything, I to be honest with you, X has just become such a muck and a mire of political talk anymore. It's just so hard to find the reasonable stuff kind of mixed in between. Although there were a lot of stories in the last week. About that one doctor who was originally he was anti-vaping, and then he did a bunch of his studies and stuff, and then he's become a big advocate for vaping. He got highlighted quite a bit last week. But I hope that if that video is continuing to fly around X somewhere, it's been community noted at this point in time. So
good.
I'm not sure. I haven't been following it. So at any rate, but if we want to continue to talk about cases that are going on,
do it.
Jim's wonderful article here kind of puts everything into perspective for us. He actually decided to kind of list it out for us. So we'll continue with good old Jim McDonald.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, and we will. I wish they would just get rid of that one that says slides. Like, stop confusing me with all the S words. You got slides, and then you got share screen, and then put share screen at the top of the list. If you want to do something fun and whimsical, put slides at the bottom. I'm not in the mood to do a PowerPoint presentation on this show. So StreamYard
someday.
StreamYard, can you change that for me, please? That would be great. Thanks. All right. I'm already at 200.
Tim doesn't ask for much, man. Tim doesn't ask for much.
Look, you know what? That's probably a simple little programming change in the background in the JavaScript code. I'm sure they could move that fucker around. All right. So this article is entitled "Vape Companies versus the FDA: Appeals and Legal Actions." So this way, we'll put it all into a nice encapsulated little warmly wrapped burrito for everybody.
Say it right.
Burrito for everyone.
There you go.
All right. So this article is an attempt to list all of the companies challenging the FDA's marketing denial orders in court, and to follow up on additional actions, including motions, stays, and decisions. Who's we, Jim? Who's we? Do you have co-writers on this article? We will also list administrative stays or denials issued by the FDA based on MDO reviews conducted by the agency. So more than 30 companies have taken legal action to dispute FDA denials. So here's the we again. We've overhauled this article, making it easier to navigate. And you know what they say, John, there's no I in team. So, over here, Vaping 360, it's a we project. You can now view legal and administrative actions by date, with the newest events listed first, or by the companies involved listed alphabetically. You can navigate to others. What's up, Rog? Good to see you, Rog. How are you? Rog Sinkert in the house. You can navigate to either section or to our list of Vaping 360 articles about MDO events using the quick links at the top of the page. The original article was posted on October 18th, but many of the events predated this article. Yep. It is possible there are still companies that have filed legal challenges to MDOs we weren't aware of. If you know of any, please comment or contact me. There's the we, right? There's the we. So if you guys have anything that you know about, give old Jim a holler, and they'll update the article. Likewise, if you're aware of companies receiving denials of administrative review applications, please let us know. So here we go. Legal actions listed by date, newest to first. August 8th, 2024, relatively recently, a 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit granted NICWID's motion for a stay pending review for an MDO issued by the FDA earlier this year. So it kind of sounds like they were somewhere on the perimeter of the one right below it, July 31st. 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit has granted petitions by 5 companies challenging MDOs received in 2021, sending their PMTAs back to the agency for new reviews. And we just talked about that one. So you got that. So that's 6 companies, right? Mm-hmm. July 2nd, the Supreme Court has granted the FDA's petition and agreed to hear the agency's appeal of the Fifth Circuit's ruling in favor of Triton distribution. The case will be heard next term. That's probably why it's kind of quiet right now.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they probably aren't doing a whole lot during an election period. It's pretty much people's main focus right now. So we know about the Triton distribution in that ruling. So on June 28th, day after my birthday, Supreme Court has scheduled a second conference for July 1st to discuss the 4 pending petitions, which again captures Triton, Magellan, Lotus, and Logic, of lower court decisions regarding FDA marketing denials. Also on June 28th, the Supreme Court has overturned a decades-old precedent, ruling that the courts no longer need to defer to federal agencies' judgment when interpreting ambiguous laws. We know about that one. That was the one that we were all kind of hooping and hollering about. That was the Chevron deference. Yep. So we kind of know about that one. We're hoping that this one here, I know you guys can barely see my little mouse moving there, but this is the one that we're hoping will help to restructure and rewrite the script on all of this stuff that's kind of happening up here and into the future with the Supreme Court actions and the other cases that are going to come up in the springtime. June 6, 2024, the FDA rescinded its MDO of all Juul Labs products and placed Juul's PMTA back into scientific review. But they're not really selling that much Juul. I never bought a Juul. No. I never cared to buy a Juul. But what are they? Just basically tobacco and mint?
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a world famous mango that was pretty bombing, but yeah, not no more.
You know what I still have in a drawer? I just remembered now that you brought up the world famous mango, John.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna touch it with a 10-foot pole. I think I'll submit it to the Smithsonian. I still have a full unopened 4-pack of Abe mango pods.
Ooh. Hey, send them my way. They're still good. They're still good as long as they've been in the shade and dark.
Yeah, they've been in it. They're in a drawer sitting up in the front of the house. I still have my little Abe units.
Yeah, that mango was really freaking good too.
Yep. Well, if you want
their tobacco was really, really good too.
So Juul is only tobacco now, Michael. I thought that they still had mint on the shelf, but I guess I'm wrong. Okay. I stand corrected. It's only tobacco now. All right. Well, enjoy your Juuls, everybody. That's why the kids don't give a rat's ass about the Juuls anymore, because they're like, why do I want to vape this crappy tobacco flavor? But you know what? That's something that I haven't really seen as rabid as what I felt like in the last year or two. Yeah. I feel like, this year, ironically, has been extremely pleasant at the pool. Like, I haven't had like 99% of the problems that I had last year with the firecrackers in the bathroom, with the kids with all the vapes down there and smoking dope in the bathrooms and all this other stuff. It's been very pleasant at the pool. I haven't really but
I just like seeing Tim going, let me tell you that this is really shitty stuff, guys. Come on, you can do better.
Well, exactly. But I'm just saying, you just don't really see, as much as they like to talk about it. I just don't really see the kids hanging around with vapes as much. Like, I check the cameras there every now and again, and there are groups of kids that go down there and hang out, and I just don't see them whipping them out. I don't see them vaping them. I don't see them trying to get away with murder.
Same here, Tim. I with everyone talking, even 2-3 years ago, I don't know if they were just being sneaky about it, but I really don't remember seeing any teenagers, and I'm right by the high school too, so I didn't see them walking down Tully, vaping. I didn't see any of that. Now, did I see some questionable ages? But again, I can't really, with this generation, I can't tell if you're 15 or 30. You know what I mean? They're built different than we were. I'm not saying we're better. Yeah, it just seems like they're smaller packages. The kids are coming in smaller packages compared to what, my freshman year of high school, the senior looked like he was in his 40s. He had a full beard, he was 6'2", these were big giant men. And I remember taking my son his freshman year, and I'm looking around and you're a senior? And I was like, you look like you just started today. You can't, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it's just me. It's just, they seem to be built different than we were. It's just smaller packages, I guess.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's hard to tell how old kids are nowadays. Like, you see 24-year-olds and they look like they're 14. And then you see like a 16-year-old and he looks like he's 22. He's got a beard and the whole nine. But I just don't feel like, I feel like the fad is over. I feel like the kids are tired with it. Like, it's just not as exciting anymore. I mean, of course, there's going to be some that are still, holding a disposable in their pocket and stuff. But I just don't. It's not as rabid. It just seemed like it's lost its luster. There's other things to chase and go after now. The buzz is coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe they've just reverted back to just drinking and doing weed. It's probably a lot of weed.
No weed, man. Yeah, hey, and beer is so easy to get.
Exactly. So moving on, May 2024, the FDA petitioned the Supreme Court to review the Fifth Circuit's rulings. I forgot the one from the fourth. I'll get to that one after that. That the Fifth Circuit is an appropriate venue for R.J. Reynolds' appeal to View's menthol products. I think I vaguely remember something about that. Well, I'll have to remember what that one was about, but there's a link to it, so we can always see what it is. June 4th, the Supreme Court has scheduled a conference for June 20th to discuss the 4 pending petitions, but we talked about that one, so that one's just sort of timeline kind of stuff. April 15th, Logic Technology Development petitioned the Supreme Court to review the Third Circuit Court decision upholding the FDA's MDO for Logic menthol refills. BD Vapor. Every time I see the word beedi, I think of the Manish Gandhi beedis, the Indian cigarettes that my friend Praveen Sood, we would go hang out at his house after school, and he would steal his grandfather's Manish Gandhi beedis. They were an Indian cigarette, and they were rolled in a grape leaf, and to keep them shut, they were sewn shut with like yarn, or like not yarn but thread, like the thread. Wow. Yeah, Manish Gandhi beedies, I think, is what they were. Manish might be the type or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to sit there. They were like the weirdest thing. You felt like you were I don't know how to qualify it, like what you felt like you're vague. I mean, but they kind of were shaped a little bit like a joint.
Yeah.
But they were just a cigarette tobacco rolled in a grape leaf.
That's weird.
Yep. We were being scandalous.
Yeah, you bad boys.
Manish Gandhi beedies were our little fad. We all had like, ooh, we're smoking some weird cigarettes.
You bad boys.
Yes.
Bad boys.
I'll bring up a picture of them. I'll find a picture of them.
Well, that's better than my story stealing from a priest. So at least you're not going to hell.
BD Vapor filed the first brief in its 11th Circuit challenge of the MDO issued in January for the BD Stick Classic. Don't even know what that is. Never seen one. Never touched it. March 19th, 2024, the FDA petitioned the Supreme Court to review the Fifth Circuit decision that nullified Triton Distribution's MDOs and ordered the FDA. So basically, because we're reading newest to oldest, we're seeing stuff that obviously things have changed. February 27, 2024, a 10th Circuit Court 3-judge panel ruled unanimously against Cloud9 Vapor Products and Electric Clouds in their consolidated MDO appeal. The companies can now ask for an en banc rehearing with all active 10th Circuit judges or request a hearing by the Supreme Court. Not sure if I heard any more about that one. Nope. February 15th, the Fifth Circuit granted R.J. Reynolds' motion to stay proceedings in the consolidated appeal of MDOs for Vuse menthol refills, Vuse Vibe, Solo, and Alto, a pending resolution of any further proceeding. I should have read this thing the other way around. I should have just gone to the bottom. Any further proceedings in Wages and White Line. So that one, we already know where that one kind of landed. An 8th Circuit Court, February 14th, 8th Circuit Court panel heard oral arguments from SWT Global. That is also part of the hearing, the MDO stay that was recently. They were involved. It was SWT versus FDA on that one. February 9th, Lotus Vaping Technologies has petitioned the who's that? Who dat? John's back. John's back, everybody. He's trying to get into the show. That's how great the internet is in California, everybody. The Fifth Circuit Court denied the FDA's motion for an en banc rehearing of R.J. Reynolds' motions for stays of the Vuse menthol MDOs for Vuse Vibe, blah, 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 pending review, which were granted by the court. The stay pending review for the now consolidated petitions remains in place. I'm sure we're just going to get a lot of repeat and rehash of the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm going to kind of stop here. But if you want a nice timeline of everything going on, I mean, look, this could have gone on forever. It could have taken the rest of the show if I had just kept on going.
And he keeps it up to date too. I mean, as soon as something happens, he adds it to the list. Yeah,
but I appreciate that he put the newest stuff first, because if he did it the other way around, it would be painful. It's like, that's it. Thanks, Jim, for giving us the last chapter first.
Yeah.
So we kind of know how the story is kind of ending, at least, or where it resides at this point in time. So interesting stuff. Lots of stuff going on out there. So people are fighting to keep themselves alive, and for all the right reasons, you know.
I think that was their biggest downfall, is not realizing that we weren't just going to walk away. I think they had that sense of where they just thought vapor, that it was a fad and it was going to go away. In the beginning, that's what they thought. And then as they pursued it, I think they realized that, hey, even with the PMTAs, they had no idea that they were getting that many. They just assumed they were going to get a handful of them from the big boys and they were just going to move on from it. But then they realized that, oh shit, we can't handle this. We don't have enough. I love it, because right when they saw that number, was the first thing they made sure everybody knew. Well, we're understaffed. We're not going to have enough people to do this. We cannot be able to handle. You're the federal government.
Yeah.
Get the people. Get them. Yeah. But of course, that would mean relying on getting outside sources to come in there that may not agree with their philosophy on vaping. So
but to Rhonda's point, that she didn't know that there were that many cases going on. I mean, I think it just goes to prove that there's a lot of fortitude in the vaping industry, and people know that they're fighting for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, because everybody knows the science is on our side. Everybody knows that what the governments are trying to do, and from the local level all the way up to the federal level, is that they're just trying to be a bully, and just because they know the truth too. At this point, they've already got their feet in the mud, and they're not going to backtrack on that, because it would make them look like a bunch of idiots, if they didn't. So I mean, it's good to see that. Like where advocacy has kind of changed over the years. I mean, the advocates are still there. I mean, it's not quite at the same sort of fervor and pace that it was. And, like when, talking around the time when, let's just go back to like, 2020 for that matter. There was a lot more of a rabid kind of community advocacy push. I think people have kind of reset a little bit. I think a lot of people got tired. It's a long, drawn out
frustrating.
battle.
It was frustrating at first. It just seemed like no matter what we did, we were getting pushed back. We'd get one step forward, and then next day, all of a sudden, we were 3 steps back. And it just I can see where a lot of people just said, "Hey, I can't keep up with this. It's just too much." And just getting frustrated. And then, hey, everyone takes bad news a little bit differently. Some of us really absorb it and really let it ruin our days. And I can see where some people just said, hey, this is making me a person I don't like. And just kind of, I need to step. And we had a lot of people in the beginning kind of just say, hey, I got to step away. I can't do this. It's kind of sad, but everybody needs a break.
Yeah. But go ahead, Michelle.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you remember when it was like you just had all these big people, who were just sort of like the voice of everything, and it got confusing because they were all defending different divisions and agencies, and this person represented this group and this organization, and then you had CASA, and then you had all these different sort of entities.
Yeah.
They were all. I don't know that people were fighting against each other as much as it was that people were, wanted to fight for the same cause, but it just got confusing because you're like, well, what do you do? What is your organization doing? And who exactly are you fighting for? And why am I giving you money when shouldn't I put my money over here and all that other stuff? I think the one that's been probably the persistent one, the one that's remained consistent and always there is CASA. Because they're the ones that, really kind of push the information from a consumer perspective back down to the people who we are. I mean, we're not shills. We're not vape industry people. I mean, we're just people that buy vapes and continue to, or mix or do whatever, DIY our own stuff because we found vaping as a way to get away from smoking. Yeah. And so CASA has really sort of kind of helped everybody stay abreast of everything that's going on where they have the ability to have some input and fight. But, you don't see the big lines and the conglomerations showing up to local hearings and things like that. I don't know if that's just a mixture of them, having these hearings at times that make it difficult for the average Joe to be there. Right. I mean, you got to have a job. You can't, got to feed the family, keep the roof over our head. Heck knows inflation isn't on our side much anymore. So it's just, everything's changed, but I think CASA and AVM has always been there. There's some, and Greg Conley, the people like that. It's just a lot of people kind of faded away,
Yeah, for me, I think too, you're right, Tim. In the beginning, it was just like I remember people saying, why am I donating to the manufacturers? Shouldn't the manufacturers be dealing with this with their own money? And there was a time when everyone was kind of asking that, that question, and with CASA, I think a lot of people didn't realize in the beginning that they were consumer based. They weren't, involved with any company or anything like that whatsoever. And then, we've had a couple of these, sadly, misused money, and it was ugly. And I think that part really kind of hurt advocacy as a whole, because I think a lot of people put in a lot of time and effort and money in some of these organizations looking for some sort of results. And then when you find out that money was misused and it went to here, went there, didn't do what it was supposed to do, that's frustrating as an advocate,
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think that people, I mean, it just, I think people realize that, there are some things that, that work and other things that don't work. And I think that where we're going to win this war in the end is going to be in the courts. I think that the FDA is going to be put under a lot of pressure. I think they're going to have to come to terms with the fact that it's not going away. It's not going anywhere. If there's anybody smart inside the government sphere, they'll understand that if, they go to the lengths of trying to take this away from everybody, that they're just gonna ignite an even larger black market.
Yeah. Hey, Michelle, I mean, that's a good point you make there, Tim. But I'm going to ask Michelle, do you think that a lot of people in the very beginning had that sense where no matter what we do right now, it's not going to be settled until this is going to be settled in court, and kind of stepped away from the advocacy part? You think that happened?
You know, I do think that happened to an extent. You know, if you look back at a lot of these, okay, you had a lot of internet and the social media and things that people our age, you know, a lot of people were into it, but a lot of people, they don't have time for it, and they don't really want to be sucked into a big fight, you know.
Yeah.
So I do believe that had something to do with it as well. But as time went on, I think it just got overwhelming. You know, you've got all these different orgs, and then they kept bringing in more orgs, and you know, it's like now you're just fighting everybody, and then you've got all these parents that, you know, are fighting as well, and there was only a few of us, and as time went on, I think we held up very, very well, though. I mean, the advocates that we have are out there, and there's a lot of street beaters, you know, as I call them. They get out and talk to their friends, and that's just as important, you know, in my book.
I got that sense. I got that sense in the beginning too. I think I'm not saying they're smarter than we were. We kept fighting and fighting, but I just had that sense where I think some people, even in the industry itself, the business side of it, I think they realized that no matter what we do, whether it's on the business side or the consumer, this wasn't going to get done unless it got to the Supreme Court or got to some sort of court or ruling. And I think a lot of
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's what happened. I think we lost a lot of people just that were maybe even have been money guys, and I think that's I think was important in the beginning when those individuals stepped away, and I got to see that firsthand because I saw a lot of companies in the beginning, e-liquid companies, just step aside when everything started to hit the fan. You know, when the shit hit the fan, I saw a lot of companies just say, you know what, we don't have the finances and the money to deal with this, and we're just going to jump on the next trend. And I think early on that trend was marijuana, because in the state of California, it was just about that same time where they were legalizing marijuana. And what I saw was a lot of the e-liquid companies make that transition, say, well, we're going to leave this and move into making THC and cartridges for marijuana. And I know 3 big companies that just did just that alone, just said, hey, you know what? We're done. And they were a lot of Washington-based companies that were making some amazing e-liquids. And they just said, nope, we're out.
Yeah. Well, I think that too. I think people that are at that level, you know, where they're got that sort of entrepreneurial kind of drive, you know, where they, you know, like you said, it's about, you know, what's hot, what can make me the most hand over fist cash at the time, you know, and it may not be that they didn't want to see that their particular product fail, because the one thing I think that hasn't changed throughout any of this, and maybe a handful have changed their minds and stuff like that, but the consumer base never really went away. You know what I mean? Like, in fact, more people were started to vape as time went on, even through all these problematic issues, even with the bans and whether there were flavor bans, total bans, you know, what have you. The consumer base never really fell away. So it's not like these people wouldn't have continued to still make the money. I think they were just looking at the scope of everything that was coming, and they were like, it's just not worth it for me to dump all this money into staying in the fight. It's easy for me just to lay down my guns and just go a different direction and find a way to market this product or market that product or get in on that game, because that game over there doesn't have as much flack, not getting as much pushback as the vaping industry is right now. But then you have the other companies, you know, some of these larger e-liquid manufacturers who recognize that. And I think that their mentality is a little bit different. And I think they see value in continuing to fight because they understand what their product means to a lot of people. You know, so I think it's a mindset thing. I truly believe that. What's up, Don Sirocco Iacco?
Sirocco,
good to see you. Good, how are you, Don? Good to see him. Yeah, that's
for Don.
There you go.
And for Tim.
There you go. But yeah, so I mean, I you know, it's good to see that, you know, there are still companies kind of, you know, keeping their feet in the fire and continuing to fight, because, you know, there's some benefits to them, and maybe, just maybe, those are the ones that become the winners on the other side of all of this, because you know what's going to happen inevitably. It's like everything else, is as soon as we kind of clear the woods, so to speak, whatever that happens to look like at the time, and these companies are still there after the fight is over, guess who's going to come rushing back?
Yeah.
All the rats.
I'm also kind of curious to see how the rest of the world looks at this after it's all said and done, because I think there will be some major changes, and you know, just like the you know, with England, you know, the UK, and how quickly they've tried to transition the good that vaping is doing, and trying to go after disposables and trying to take that stuff out of the market. And again, you know, we talk about it all the time, you know.
Hey, James, what's up, James? We got all these good people showing up.
Why are you interrupting me, Tim?
I'm not. I just want to make sure I cover all everybody that's showing up.
That's my job.
That's Michelle's job. I mean, it's taken away that impulse buyer, and I think that's, you know, a big part of our industry is that impulse buyer. And I think when they start doing that, and I think they realize that, hey, well, they got them in hospitals, and, you know, they got them everywhere in the UK, and trying to find a way to give vaping a bad name and going after disposables, I think sent a message out to some people that were on the fringe before and weren't so sure, now are fighting against vaping because, oh, the disposables are getting onto the kids are getting the disposables. And I'm like, you know, how about Joe Blow that comes in for the first time, that's been a smoker for 35 years, and he's standing in line, and he kind of looks over in the counter and sees it and goes, yeah, you know what, maybe I'll give this a try. You take that away, I mean, that hurts the industry, hurts that, not just to mention it hurts the customer, because he's never going to get an opportunity to try to transition from smoking to vaping and save his life. So yeah, I'm just kind of worried. I'm not worried, but I'm kind of concerned how the rest of the world, if everything goes our way, how is that going to affect Canada? How's that going to affect the UK? How's that going to affect Australia, for one? You know, does Australia follow our lead, you know, or does Australia just say, hey, you know what, we're going to stick to our guns, and, you know, this is what we're going to do, and move forward. But, you know, again, it's big tobacco and it's big money. Australia needs that money. We need that money too, to be honest with you. I mean, cigarette tax money pays for a lot of things. And if we don't have governments that are ready to find alternative ways to make up that difference, that's scary. I mean, we're not to switch gears here, but we're running into that problem here in California right now, because California wasn't ready for everyone to buy an EV. Now, all of a sudden, we have all these EVs out here, the most in any other state. Well, guess what? Those EVs aren't buying gas. So if they're not buying gas, there's no road tax. So now they're seeing 30 million vehicles, you know, driving around that are pretty much driving around for free and not paying any road taxes whatsoever. So what do they go to? Well, we're going to stick a chip in your car and we're going to charge you per mile. So that's what they're planning on doing with all these Tesla owners, all these other EVs that are out here. They're talking about putting a chip in and charging you per mile.
Have you heard anything about California starting to have pay toll roads?
Having what? Say that again.
Pay toll roads.
Oh yeah, we have them already.
But I mean, adding a tax on them.
Yeah, no, we have them already. Like if I want to go, there's a few stretches on some of the major ones that are commuting lanes. And what they do is you get in there and you pay $1.25 for every mile. So it puts you, you know, it does put you a little bit in front of the commuter traffic, but in the end, it's still going to take you 3 hours to get home. But yeah, we don't have like, pave roads like you guys do on the East Coast in New Jersey and Connecticut and all that, where hey, if you're on here, you're paying 75 cents. We have what they call fast lanes and commuter lanes.
Okay.
So like if you want to get in, if it's bumper to bumper and you want to pay that, $1.25 a mile, and you slide into that lane and, you'll get put ahead like 3 or 4 miles ahead. But guess what's up 4 miles up ahead? The same traffic.
Right.
Well, they do that. They do that here. I mean, my car was actually rated as it's not electric in any way, shape, or form, other than the battery and the starter. But I like my car runs on E85 if I want, right? That alternative gas, and I guess I could have gotten some benefit from the state.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but the problem with that is that there was nowhere around to get the gas in the first place. I mean, very few gas stations sold it. And then I heard in the end that people were telling me that it's not as fuel efficient, meaning you just don't get as many miles on that type of gas. But whatever the case, though, but you're right in that sense, is that that I think that if they were to take, well, I mean, states have done it, but I mean, if they take vaping away, they can't be fools to understand or see that they're losing out on all of that money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those taxes coming in just from the purchase of those devices. And that's not to say I condone the kids doing any of that. I mean, no, the kids are in the wrong completely. But, just kind of talking about it here in the sense that, kids are kids. They're going to get what they want when they want, however they want anyway. And they're going to be encircled with people that are just the IDGAF crew that's just going to buy it for them anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like the older brother or the,
everybody's got an uncle. Everybody's got a shady uncle, Tim.
So, yeah, I mean, but it just blows my mind that they feel like that banning it is the answer to the problem, when in fact banning it is really just only the beginning of more problems.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll go after bicycles eventually. How long do you ride your bike? We're going to put a chip on your bike. You just can't be using manpower to get around. That's just not going to work, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you got states like California where, they rely on that billions, $7 to $9 billion that they get every year from big tobacco. I mean, that money's got to come from somewhere. That's why I'm, tobacco's never going to go away, guys. We're just fighting to try to get a portion of those people to make that transition. And I think that's how the industry looks at it. The industry knows people are not going to stop smoking. There are individuals that are not going to give up smoking. I have a cousin. How can I convince someone that's 82 years old, has no cancer, drinks 2 shots of whiskey every day, and smokes 2 packs of cigarettes that he's going to die? And he's just going to look, and he looks at me like, hey, I'm 89 years old, and I'm still smoking 2 packs of cigarettes. I'm drinking 2 shots of whiskey every morning. So, they know that there's going to be those people, and there's going to be people that are going to smoke for the first time. That's never going to go away. Whether or not they stay smoking or not for the amount of years we do, who knows? But again, I think they forget that, and I hate saying this, but I think you all agree, we enjoyed smoking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like a big part of our life. It was like, had to have that first one in the morning, had to have that cigarette after dinner. It was an excuse to go take way too many breaks at work. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I just fought my way through a habit and it was just felt disgusting the entire time. I mean, no, I mean, it was a comfort element to my lifestyle. And then go out drinking with your friends. I mean, it was just smoking and drinking just went hand in hand. So,
and I'll be honest, there's 2 great things after Thanksgiving dinner. That's either that cigarette or that cigar. And that every Thanksgiving, it's either a cigarette or cigar for me. I smoke the cigar. Don't go back to the cigarettes, but after Thanksgiving dinner, man, that cigar is just tastes so good with that little glass of brandy. It's scary to think, as someone, as people our age, we look at it that way. We're like, okay, if if vaping takes off and takes a big chunk away from big tobacco and those taxes, who are they going after? I mean, that's how we look at things. I don't think the younger generation looks at it that way. They just like, oh, we got to get rid of all this stuff, but they're not realizing long term what's going to happen. Where's $9 billion going to come from? If it's a big tobacco were to go away tomorrow, where does the state of California get $9 billion from people? One way or another. I mean, that's how I look. I mean, I know I'm 57. I'm wondering, is my Social Security check going to be $700? Or is it, where I can't live, can't buy my food, can't buy my medicine, all that stuff. That's how I look at it. So, I mean, I want people to quit smoking for the right reason and be healthier, but I also looking long term, like where's that other money coming from? Is it going to be coming from taxes? Is my property taxes going to go up? My food tax is going to go up? Gas is going to go up. So that's how I look at it. I know you shouldn't look at it and talk about it that way on the show, but that's how I look at it. At my age, I have to.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, they're gonna have to find a way to get that money back somehow. And I feel like more and more people are finding a way to get away from cigarettes. While it's not going to go away, I do think that people are taking a different approach to life nowadays. And they may feel as though vaping, they may be people that think that vaping is worse than smoking, but I mean, that's just not the truth.
Yeah.
But I just think in general, overall, people have become a little bit more bystander, a little bit more health conscious. You just don't see as many. I see plenty of smokers, but just not not like I felt like when I was growing up as a kid, kid in high school and going through my 20s and my 30s. It just felt like everybody smoked.
Yeah. Everybody. 80s and 90s were bad. 80s and 90s were bad. Everybody did smoke. And we smoked everywhere. We smoked at Denny's. We smoked at the freaking bars.
Oh, yeah, because we could smoke inside, too. That changed a lot of things. We're at every bar we could smoke inside, but now they've changed that. But you know what? That still doesn't alter too much. People have no problem going outside. As a matter of fact, those laws in and of themselves probably changed a lot of people from smoking in their homes. Now even the people that smoke don't even smoke in their house because they realize that it just smells so much better.
Oh yeah,
shit's not sticky and yellow, and the clothes are all rank and all that other stuff. Because you don't smell it yourself.
Yeah, we bought a house back in the 90s that we were going to use as a rental, and this lady that was in the house was in her 80s, and she smoked in there who knows how since the 70s. And here in Modesto, we had it's a popcorn ceiling. Yeah, it's like and it's some spray shit now that they say is bad for you. But we walked in the curtains were yellow. The walls were yellow. That popcorn shit was yellow. Everything was yellow. And you can see that this lady has been, my uncle, he looked at me, he goes, we're stripping this house down. And we did. We took the carpets out. We stripped the walls back down to the sheetrock, not stucco, but repainted the whole house, cleaned it all up. And I'm not kidding you. Even after all that work, that home still smelled like cigarettes, man. And there wasn't even carpet in there yet. It still smelled like cigarettes. It's pretty bad.
You can't get rid of it. It's that like wood floors and the cabinetry and the door frames and all that
it's
stuff.
Everywhere.
It just sucks it in,
It was horrible. It was horrible. And then, back then too, everybody's car you got into had burn holes on their seats.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My last car, my Forerunner, when I lived in California, I used to go hang out at this place on the lake it was called the Del Dios Country Store. It used to be a bait and tackle shop, but somebody bought it and turned it into like half bar, half restaurant kind of thing. And I think they still sold like night crawlers and stuff out of a freezer or something like that. Right. But we used to go and hang out down there, and I was hanging out with these kind of people that lived down on the lake in trailers and stuff. They're really great people, very bohemian, very kind of like laid back hippie type people. And we would just go to the Del Dios Country Store and just get hammered all the time. And so we were drinking and then they would close the store early. So they would sell us beer and we could just sit out in front of the store and drink. And I was so many times had people sitting in the car and smoking their cigarettes and they would pass out. And I had burn holes and both the front seats, both the front bucket seats.
Or you tried to flick it out the window and the cherry flew back into the car and landed on your lap, and you were doing the I'm not going to burn myself dance in your car while you were driving.
Or the hotel where you go into the bathroom and you look down at the sink or the tub and there's, you know, brown marks from the cigarettes that poured into it, you know? Yeah.
It's so gross.
Yes. Well,
and what was funny, it was funny too, though, because I'm sure all three of us, every time we got a new car, it was like, I'm not going to smoke in a car. I'm not going to smoke in a car. I'm not going to smoke in a car.
A day later, window cracked, flicking it out the window.
Just one. I won't smoke again. Just one. Oh,
you know, you got to go on a trip, you know, every now and then, and you can't go for hours, you know.
Yeah. Well, the worst was renting a car and thinking you could get away with it, you know, and you're thinking that they wouldn't figure it out when you drop the car off. And I got, oh my God. And then you get caught on that one because they see cigarette ashes in the back window, like on the landing or whatever. And you're like, damn it, I forgot to vacuum that part.
I forgot that spot. No, I remember my trips in the morning. We used to leave for Disneyland at like 3:30 in the morning. There's a 6-hour drive, and sometimes even earlier than that, because my ex-wife, she wanted to be there at the gate because they did a little show every morning before they open the park. Mickey comes down and they do all this stuff. And so we'd always leave super early in the morning, and I had my stops because I couldn't smoke in a car with the kids. I didn't want to smoke in a car. So I had my stops. So it was like every 30, 40 miles, pull over. Why does Dad keep stopping? I was like, Dad can't smoke in the car, man. And I had my little spot, Chowchilla, smoke, get back in the car, drive Bakersfield, pull over, smoke, you know, get into LA, stop in Vallejo, smoke.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible.
We were pretty much fiends. Well,
and then when you get to Disneyland, you can't smoke in there. So you got to ask people, hey, where's the smoking area? And they would give you that dirty ass look, you know?
No, it's how it is most of the time. Well, thank God vaping came around because you can pretty much get away with that almost anywhere. Nobody can see that. Well, do you guys want to talk about a study about quitting?
Sure.
All right, let's talk about that.
Like that.
Since we're on the subject of quitting smoking and switching to vaping. So hold on one second. This is actually a study in the U.S., folks. So I'm not going to talk to you about a study that's from another country. Plenty of
people,
those.
Tim. You're good people.
This is from RoswellPark.org. They did a recent study, daily use of e-cigarettes linked to higher cigarette quit rates. Roswell Park research shows. So it was a new path study. Findings underscore importance of sufficient nicotine replacement for smoking cessation. Buffalo, New York, no less. A state that has a vape ban.
Yep.
So where'd they find the people for the study, John?
I'm going to bet universities.
Yeah, all right. We know you all are illegal right now, but bring your vapes. Buffalo, New York. Adults in the U.S. who used e-cigarettes daily and also smoked combustible cigarettes were more likely to quit smoking than those who smoked but used e-cigarettes less frequently, according to a study led by experts at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. The research published today in the journal JAMA Network Open suggests that daily e-cigarette use may help some people quit using combustible cigarettes, where people like Turk are going to tell you that it's a bunch of bullshit, that vaping doesn't help you quit smoking. That certainly it can't be. The new work documents a collaborative effort by investigators from Roswell Park, the University of Waterloo School of Public Health Sciences in Ontario, Canada, and the Medical University of South Carolina. Quote, unquote, or in quotes, our study shows that adults who smoke cigarettes and use newer e-cigarettes have higher cigarette quit rates than those who used e-cigarettes in the past. Now, that may be very well true in the sense that, at least what I remember, John, and maybe it was when we started with like the blue and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think we were somewhere in the neck of the woods around like 24 milligram or something like that. 24 milligram in the blue cigarettes. Says Karen Kaza, PhD, assistant professor of oncology in Roswell Park's Department of Health Behavior and first author of the paper. Our findings are consistent with earlier evidence that sufficient nicotine replacement can be helpful for quitting smoking. Recent guidance from the Center for Tobacco Products indicates the importance of switching completely away from combustible cigarettes for those who are also using e-cigarettes. But this also kind of goes to prove the differential and why a lot of people will still continue to advocate for high milligram vaporizing liquids and pods or systems in that regard, because I think it's crucial that, and where it gets missed in the along the way, is that you're going to have a higher quit success rate if you get somebody on a relative experience to what they were doing when they were smoking. So if it, that's why a 50 milligram may help somebody initially in the beginning to start that quit journey. And then they need to understand that that you can wean down, that you can start working your way. Like, you don't need 50 all the time. That's just something that was giving you a relative experience to smoking, let alone, the MTL type vaping with the tighter draw and all that other stuff. But that's important information right there, because there is a bit of a system to it if you want there to be. The research team analyzed data collected for the Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health PATH study, a National Institutes of Health, Food, and Drug Administration study, scientifically led since 2013 by Andrew Hyland, PhD, chair of the Health Behavior at Roswell Park. The scientists tracked 1,985 adults in the U.S. to determine whether characteristics of e-cigarettes are associated with the likelihood of smoking cessation, examining not only frequency of use, but also flavor type and type of device. The team reviewed data from the period of 2014 to 2021, a time during which available options of e-cigarettes changed. Their analysis reveals that daily versus non-daily use of e-cigarettes is linked to higher overall rates of quitting combustible cigarettes, 12.8% versus 6.1%. So non-daily use of e-cigarettes is linked to higher overall quit rates. So daily at 12.8 versus 6.1 for not daily. Now, I never really knew too many vapors that were like, oh, I vape this day, but I don't vape that day.
Yeah. I only vape 3 days a week.
Unless they're like dual users.
Well, right. That's what I'm thinking. And maybe they were going to places where they weren't sure whether or not they could use their vaporizers or something like that, or for fear of scrutiny or whatever. I mean, we've all been in a pack of smokers, outside in front of some place, and we're the one holding the vape, and then they look at you like you're,
dude, what's that?
Like some kind of redheaded stepchild. Like, what the hell is that lightsaber thing you got in your hand?
If you're gonna smoke, you might as well smoke.
That's gonna rot your teeth. So I can understand that. Adults who used e-cigarettes in 2019 were more likely than those who used them in 2014, 2015 to stop smoking traditional cigarettes, 12% versus 5.3%. There was limited evidence for flavor of device type being associated with cigarette cessation. So that might be one of the important elements of the argument right there, because a lot of us would say otherwise. We would say we might not vape had it not been for the flavors.
Right.
But the unique difference, John, is our experience. We came from only tobacco and limited flavor options to all of a sudden having this smorgasbord of options that eventually became available, but recognizing at the same time too that it's like, wow, I'm so glad we have these flavors now, because the crap in the beginning was it just didn't taste that good. It wasn't that great. Just the flavors weren't amazing. I mean,
and I think too, lucky for us, we did start with the blues, but we had options, and I think that's what's the problem today, is there's no options. So for us, it was like, okay, this is getting me by. The blue was getting me by, but as soon as I saw something else, I'm like, oh, I got to transition to this, and I transitioned to that. And then again, we started at 24, 18, somewhere right around there. And most of us were able to make, those choices and get to other options and then work our way back down. What I'm afraid of is there isn't a disposable that lets you work your way back down.
No,
that's my fear.
That's what they want. That's what they want, though.
Yeah.
Because they still want to hook us on nicotine or whatever they can, you know, for the tax money. And I really believe that's why they're not going to give us the open systems like we want, you know. They're going to keep us on those pods and not lower it.
Yeah. I think there should be. I don't know if that's something that's going to take place after, you know, say we do win this battle and we move forward. Do you both feel that the open system might come back and people are more likely to start buying tanks and RDAs again and bigger vape devices?
Well, I certainly hope so, and I say that for the sake of I think what a lot of people that first get into vaping, and usually the first route that they'll take is some small MTL type device or a disposable or something like that. That, you know, I know there are some disposables out there that have low nicotine content and stuff like that, but I'm just saying the vast majority are going to be high milligram nicotine content, and I just don't think. Well, you hope that those people get a little introduction to other options that are out there, because I don't think many of them are told, like, you're just not going to, you may not need this all the time. Eventually you'll be able to go to a different type of experience, because a lot of this is MTL kind of stuff. It's not DTL. And so, you know, if you could expose people to that and go, hey, you know, you can get this type of system, much lower much lower nicotine content, and, you know, you'd still be able to kind of be balanced. I know it's getting harder and harder to find, because I'm pretty much a 3 and 6 person on an open system. And you know, I just got lazy for a little while.
But when's the last time you picked up your device other than that disposable, Tim? Because I can't even remember the last time I picked up a device and dripped.
It's been a while. Like, I don't know, just I just really haven't had the fortitude for it with how busy I am lately. It's just like I just don't feel like running back to a table.
Girlfriends do that to you, man.
No, not
I'm kidding.
Not that at all. It's just sort of been more or less the idea that, you know, I'm stuck to a computer pretty much all day long. And, you know, I have to keep breaking down and going back and pulling wick and cleaning coils and all that other stuff. It's just been like, I just want something in front of me that I can just grab and go, and when I'm done, I can just chuck it in the trash. Now, what does that mean that I won't? I got plenty of juice on the shelf.
Yep.
And I don't want that to go bad. So I probably will. I just, you know, I go through phases like that, you know, where I'm like I went through a phase for probably 6 to 8 months where I was using open systems, but I was buying tanks with throwaway coils in them.
Coils. Yeah.
Just like, you know, using the Valkyrie, not the Valerian tanks and stuff like that. So I was just like, but then I was like, this is getting stupid, because I'm just like pissing money away on buying coil after coil. They last me 7 to 10 days, and I'm just chucking them in the trash. And it's like, why am I continuing to do that? And then, of course, all the other shit happened with the PACT Act and it becoming almost more difficult and more expensive to buy those things. So I just kind of dropped it. But
damn you, government.
Yeah. But I got plenty of that left over. I got all kinds of wire. I got all kinds of coils. I got all kinds of wick. I mean, I bought that 13 feet, like that 4-pack from Amazon. I got enough cotton, you know, to just sink a battleship right now. So I'm doing pretty good. So yeah, I'll transition back. I got some really good mango on the shelf that I need to get to. So
baby.
You know, it was all money based, in my opinion, on the disposables anyway. I mean, you know, it was okay. Well, we're running out of ideas. We've got all this stuff, but hey, nobody's done disposables, and nobody's done pods, and nobody's done, you know, that kind of stuff. And so they pushed all that, and it got cheaper for them.
Yeah.
But I do believe that, you know, once it gets opened up a little bit more, as far as scrutiny from the government, that these big companies are going to start saying, hey, but now we need more mods. We need more, you know, direct to loan.
Either that too. Either that or come on, guys, put one out there that starts at 50, then 25, then you know, work it down. You know, I know what ends up happening, because it happened in the industry early. I mean, a lot of the higher nicotine levels that people needed to get off that were beginners were having a hard time finding 18 and 24 because these companies were just pushing out 6 and 8, you know, and so 6 and 9, sorry. And so I'm hoping that doesn't happen as well in the disposables, but having at least one disposable company say, hey, you know what, we're about you quitting. So here's a way to transition. And that would be something that I think would be it would make the industry look better. I think then instead of just everybody pushing out 25s and 50s and just have one of the companies say, here you go, here's a 50, transition to a 20, and even make it a mail-in thing where, hey, we'll mail them to you. So this way you don't even have to go to the store or go to the vape shop. When you're ready to transition from 50 to 25, you check a box and next thing you know, 25 start coming. And then when you're ready to move down to 18 or 10 and 9 or whatever, it'll be available to you. This way companies, I'm giving out $1 million idea here, but this way companies don't have to manufacture 1 million 3s, 1 million 9s. They can do it at the factory and say, here you go. You need, this guy needs 6s. Let's make some 6s and then send those out. I think it'd be a great thing. Anybody that wants to invest, I'll leave my number, 50,000 a piece. We'll get started.
Yeah, but I think that would be kind of a really great thing from a website perspective. I mean, if people were out there looking to buy stuff and like structure the website and make it sort of like understandable to the person who hits the website that vaping is a journey in and of itself, in the sense that our site is structured in such a way that explains to you that that if you're just getting started and transitioning, these are the products that we recommend. And then after 2 to 4 months, consider this bracket, and then we're going to move you down into a different nicotine content, because you will have balanced out or at least adapted at that point. And it's not that hard to transition down, from 50 to even say, there's 36 and 24s out there. Like you could go from 50 to 36 and then bracket it by 24. And then you could have devices that are available that kind of remove that MTL element of it, and then start giving them lower milligram contents, in a DTL type experience. I mean, that might be one of the harder transitions, because if you're used to an MTL,
and then just make them on demand. Make them on demand. You don't have to make 1 million 3s. You don't have to make 1 million 6s and 9s. Just make them on demand. They'll have the juice. You need to send, make them on demand, send them out to that individual.
Yeah.
And Peggy, we're talking down the road when everything gets settled down. I know it's impossible to mail something today, but I'm talking down the road. If everything settles down, it would be nice to see someone go with that alternative, have some sort of monthly subscription deal where, like a Zamplebox, just like Zamplebox has, we'll send you the juice as you transition down. We'll send you that one. So you can go and pick, like Zamplebox, you go and pick. If you want to start on 18, you start on 18, you pick your juice, they mail it to you. Yeah. And just the same way with disposables. And I think, hey, and I'm not saying everybody, I get a lot of shit for this, but I know not everybody wants to quit vaping.
Right.
And that's your preference. That's your choice. But there still are, I think, a majority of people that are out there that want to transition down to zero and then eventually not be tied to anything, whether it's a vape or a cigarette. So
I know friends personally that their goal was to get off of it completely, and they weaned themselves down. They started out, with like a 6 or a 12. And then eventually, just slowly and surely over the months, they just kind of just said, okay, this time around, I'm going to buy 3, and I'm going to stick with 3 for a handful of months. And then I'm going to go to 0, and then I'm going to get off of it. So, I mean, it is all possible, but I'm kind of in the boat where I'm like, I enjoy it. It's like, for me, it's a huge stress breaker throughout the day. So like when my brain has to be cranking and running at 1,000 miles an hour all day long, I'm like,
at all those rock concerts.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just, for me, it's just not something that I'm aspiring to quit anytime soon.
Hello, California.
So let's carry on. So I think we got through that part. The research team analyzed data collected for the population. Okay, this is where we were. The team reviewed data from the this is where we talked. The team reviewed data from the period of 2014 to 2021, a time during which available options of e-cigarettes changed. We did read that. Other studies show that newer e-cigarettes deliver higher doses of nicotine more efficiently, which is the inception of salts and MTL devices, which could be a reason why these findings were observed. The authors acknowledge that more frequent use of e-cigarettes may also reflect greater determination to quit smoking combustible cigarettes, and that their study did not evaluate risks of youth e-cigarette use. Well,
yeah.
I mean, why does that always have to be a part of the study? I mean, the whole idea here is you're trying to determine whether or not there's a correlation between vaping and reducing smoking.
Yeah.
Does it get people to quit? Does it increase the probability that someone would quit? So I don't know why. I'm kind of glad they didn't bring in the factor about youth e-cigarette use, because I think that's a negligible thing. Like, no, we don't want kids vaping, but we know it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. So since there is no safe tobacco product, eventual abstinence from all tobacco products is the end goal. Of course, Dr. Hyland, who is senior author of on the new work. The paper was funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse of the National Institutes of Health and FDA Center for Tobacco Products, project number blah 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 blah. So yeah, but I mean, I think this is important because it's a study that's done. It was a study done in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So we find it very difficult for people of authority who have the ability to regulate our lives to listen to information that comes from foreign sources. As much as we tout the Royal College of Physicians or the Cochrane Group, all of that stuff, they don't typically. They kind of ignore that. It's kind of pushed off the table because it doesn't. It's not that's not a U.S. study. It doesn't really affect them. They want U.S. data. So good to see that more studies like this are being done.
Nice.
Good one. Good one.
That was a good one. All right.
It's a good one. Timmy.
Yeah, I had one more, but I'll save it for next week. And it was from Filter, and it was about not so much about vaping directly, but it was more around anti-nicotine hiring policies and inequality in the workplace. There are places people can't get jobs because they vape.
Those sons of bitches.
Yep.
The sons of bitches.
I've got a story for you. When that
there's a lot of companies out there. It seemed kind of asinine, and I mean, I think it's kind of dumb. I mean, I think that they're looking at it from a health provider perspective.
Insurance.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's all about the insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't want their employees out in front of the building vaping, and then someone walks in and sees that, and that may be the reason they decide not to do business with that company. It's a big bullshit.
Yeah, but there's a lot of tech companies that are that way, and that kind of thing too.
Dude, I can bet you if you were to go to the Google headquarters, you would see a shit ton of them vaping outside. Shit ton of them.
If you're a tech person, that's what you do, what you do.
So I have a question for the two of you and anybody in the chat. Do you ever find yourself like, so I went to the podiatrist not that long ago because I was having these issues with my feet, and of course I had to sit down and get the 20 questions from the nurse lady who had to populate my form or whatever, and she got to the part where she was like, "And do you smoke?" And I'm like, okay, now I sort of feel like I'm filling out like an application. Like I better not lie, right? I better not say, oh no. But I did kind of do that. I was like, well, no, I don't smoke. I mean, I vape, but I'm sure you guys look at it like smoking. But it's I'm like, how far do I take this at a point of argument? Like, all she wanted to know was, do I smoke or not? But I feel like there should be like another checkbox, like, do you smoke? Okay, that's bad. Maybe related to your foot problem, but not probably not. And then there should be the vape thing. Okay, well then that's not nearly the same.
Yeah, well, they'll get you with, the sugars that you're putting on your gums and your teeth and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, look, man, my teeth are the way they are because I smoked for 25 fucking years and I didn't take care of them. That's period. End of story. What has taken place since the moment I've quit to today, that's a whole different story, Well.
I just find it funny. Like, I feel like I have to justify myself to that question.
Yeah, I just plead the fifth. Yeah, I just plead the fifth. It's none of your damn business.
Eventually, I might tell them, I've been using nicotine. Once they found out that my tests are negative, and how good I feel and am from the test, then I'll tell them, I vape. Like, get over it,
Well, I'm like, I know they can't smell me. I know they don't. I know they don't smell me. So
you smell like a fruit yard. If they do smell you, you smell just like the fruit yard.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
got strawberry, mango in there. I smell a little bit of that. Some watermelon on you, Tim.
I just felt like for a hot second, I needed to put on the boxing gloves, with this poor lady that was filling up.
You heard the Rocky theme song in your head.
I don't need your opinions, nurse, Ratchet, whoever you are.
I can see Tim. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I love it. I love it. Damn dentist. Yeah, if you want to talk about dentist, that you want to talk about highway robbery, that's dentist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we've known that for years.
I got my dentist so angry at me last month, and I've been wanting to say it for years. But he's like, hey, he was talking about pulling teeth, pulling a tooth. And I was like, well, okay, is it better to save that tooth or pull it and put a denture in there? And he's like, well, it's about $1,000 to pull a tooth these days. Right. Yeah. So I looked at him and I said, I find funny. I said, my grandfather used to pull teeth in his barbershop. And I know the different time, but it wasn't $1,000.
It was a string and a doorknob.
Yeah,
or a pair of pliers.
Yeah, he had he had dental tools in his barbershop because back then people would come in, get a haircut, and they would have a toothache, and my grandfather would pull teeth in the barbershop, and that's why they have that pole thing. That's a medical. Yeah, right. They were. Right. So I was just like, and he just gave me the dirtiest fucking look, in the world. Oh, but it's unsanitary. You get an infection, blah, blah, blah. It's all safer here. I go, I don't think I remember anybody coming back and telling my grandfather they got an infection, Yeah. Oh, man. All right, guys. Anything else you guys want to throw on out there?
Nothing new. Nothing new. I think we covered it all in this 2-hour show.
We did. I think we do. And what's her name brought up a good thing, and I'd like to dig into that one a little bit next week. But yeah, it's tough. Most of us have this. We need to have something in our hands. So I think we'll talk a little bit about that next week. And how there are people out there that have different, it may not even be the nicotine that you're addicted to. You might just be addicted to the routine. So I think we'll dig into that a little bit next week.
Rhonda said. That's what Rhonda
said. Rhonda. I think that would be a great little subject to get into because I think, that was I think the vaping industry brought the spinner. I think the spinner was created just for the vaping industry. All right, guys, everybody look in the camera. Look in that camera. And say goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say thanks, everybody, for joining in. Thanks to all the new people that joined in. Thanks for being here, Rhonda. Hope you can be with us again next week. A lot of wonderful people here. Everybody that's in the chat week after week. So we'll try to make sure we'll put toothpicks in John's eyes next weekend.
I'll be wide awake. I promise. All right. No, as long as I get to bed on time, I'm good. But yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see everybody next week. Everybody look in the camera and say goodbye. Bye, everybody.